Hi, in this video I will explain you how you can combine data from two worksheets using the XLOOKUP function. First, let me go over the data we have at our hand and what we want to do. Then I'll explain the use of the XLOOKUP function with a simple example, and then I'll show you how you can use this function to combine the data of two worksheets. Okay, what kind of data do we have here? First of all, we have student IDs here, unique student IDs from 317 students, starting in column B on row 3. Additionally, we have the university from which they are, university alphabet. That's not important for this example, also not important is the sex, but what is important is they participated in a mathematics exam and these are their scores as a percentage. Yeah? Also in a language exam is not important for this example. And we also have the days they attended the classes, and what I like to know, for example, is is there a correlation between their scores and the days they attended the classes, and I calculated this correlation here, and 25% is not a high correlation. And also I wondered whether there should be a correlation, or is there a correlation between the math scores here and the math hours they had in their secondary studies, in their previous studies, in the previous programs they attended. So I'd like to have these math hours from their previous studies. And also I'd like to have the name of the student. I just have their ID. So I called the data management teams from the universities and asked for this data. Can you give me an Excel worksheet with the name of the student ID, and also can you dig up the math hours they had in their previous studies? So they sent me an Excel file and I copied the data from this Excel file in my worksheet extra data. And here I have the student name as I asked for. I have the student ID and I have some coding from their secondary education, and a list what the codes mean. And I copied this list here with the coding and also then the name of the secondary education they had or they followed. And also, of course, the weekly hours math they had. Also the weekly hours language, but for this example, I just want the weekly hours math. So if I could bring in these information, the name of the secondary study is not that important, but it's also handy to have it in here, and the math hours and language hours, and I have the student name here, then I can combine this data with the data of the worksheet main here, and I can in the end calculate my correlation. How can I combine this data having the student ID here with the student name and then these columns? How can I combine this with my main worksheet? First of all, what you could do is sort these data on student ID, and here I have also the student ID sorted, so I can copy and paste then the name, for example, from here to here. But this is the problem, because here I have some like 950 students. They gave me some 950 students. I don't know why, but that's the fact. So copy paste is, even if I sort this on student ID, is not going to work. So here I have to use a function and to look up the student ID and give the student name, give the name of their secondary studies, and give the math hours or language hours here in my main worksheet. And that's why I have to use XLOOKUP. But first, let's use XLOOKUP in a more simple, rather simple example. Let's say I want the coding here, from secondary education, and I want the name and the hours math and hours language. I want them copied here. I can do this, of course, manually, but doing this 900 n times manually is not the way you have to do it. So also here I can use the function XLOOKUP. The first argument is a lookup value. I have to look for something, and the lookup value is here in the same row 5 on column C. And the second argument is, where do you want to look for this value? I want to look for this value in this range. Under the code, I want to look for arts2, and the XLOOKUP value will find in this cell art2. And then the third argument is just saying, what do you want to return? If I find something here, I want to have this name in return. For arts2, it will be arts level 2. And then the fourth argument, what do you want the XLOOKUP function to do if there is nothing found? Say that arts2 does not exist here. Now, normally you hope for that this will not happen, but of course it can be. So put something here that is very clear, where you can sort on, or you can find it with the find and replace function, so you can see what kind of code did not exist. Very important is that you hear in the last argument that you use the exact match. If you don't use the exact match, then if there is nothing found, if arts2 did not is not existing in here in this range, then if XLOOKUP will return something in the neighborhood of arts2, maybe the value of arts1 or something. So first of all, there will be no error, and it will be wrong, so you don't know. So you rather want to have an error or something that reminds you, hey, watch out, there is a coding here that does not exist here, instead of something approximately. So here, really choose for 0. Well, and that's it. So here, of course, I got in return arts level 2, and now it can fill it down. Of course, I have to correctly use my dollar signs here and here, fix these ranges, but of course the code C5 has to be C6, C7, etc. So I don't use any dollar sign here. So let me fill it down. Okay. And then fill down this function. And here you can see all the names of the secondary study will show up. Looking for the code here, and will return the XLOOKUP function, will return the correct name secondary of the secondary education. In the same way, I can look for the weekly hours math and weekly hours language. Let me just copy this function here and copy it here. Of course, I get the name, but the one thing I have to change is looking not the secondary education coding, no, just looking for the same code, but return not column G, but column L. So let me just change here, column L, L, and I've got for arts level 2, I've got 3 hours of math. And let me fill this down like this. And let me do the same here again. And I've got everything I wanted, but instead here of G, I use column M. So you see, once you've got the function correctly for one column, it's very quickly and easy to set it up for the other columns. Okay, this is 5 and select down and copy it and fill it down. Control D or using the menu here. So I have now all my data. I have the student name, I have the math hours, I have a student ID, and I'm going to use the XLOOKUP function in the same way to fill here the name of the student, but I'm going to look for this ID, and I'm going to look for this ID here in the student ID here. And if a student ID is found, I'm going to return the student name. And in the other column, I'm going to return the math hours. So it's exactly the same way you use it as I use it here for the codings here. Maybe a last remark for the XLOOKUP function. That is the following. The first argument, the lookup value, it has to be of the same data type. Yeah, there's a lookup value here. The type, the data type is text, has to be the same data type as the range where I have to look for this value. And that was here in this column. Yeah. So this one also needs to be a data type text. Of course, it's obvious this is a data type text, but it's important you know that if you have a lookup value here from a certain data type, you want to look it up in a range. All the cells in this range, they need to be of the same data type. So if I'm going to use student ID here, and here I already noted the data type, this is data type number, well, it has to be also here from the data type number from the student ID, because I'm going to search for this ID in the range here in column H for the 900 plus students here. Okay, let me do this. Then for the name of the student, in the same way, XLOOKUP, the lookup value, it's this value. Search for this value in this range, but now I have a range from going from age 5 till age 952. And what do I have to return? I have to return the name. So going back to extra data, and I have to return the name. And of course, you can see here the rows need to be the same, H5, H952, B5, B952. And then, of course, if not found, what does the XLOOKUP value has to return then? Again, my famous error or whatever. You also can put here student not found. Very possible. Makes maybe more sense than my coding of error. And then the exact match, the 0 here. and that should it be. So it's the XLOOKUP function. You use it in the same way as before, but now between worksheets. And of course, you see the worksheet name for the reference, the worksheet name with the exclamation mark, and then the range for the lookup array and the return array. And that's it. Using my dollar signs here and here, here and here. And I can do the same. I can copy this down. I can like this and then fill down or the Control D. And I've got all the names here. And in the same way, just copy paste the setup of the function in column I, and in column G, I have the same, but return not column B, but what do I have to return? Column F. So change B in F and you've got it. B becomes F, and then the same way, copy this formula. And now you can see that, first of all, I have a very low correlation between the math hours the students had in their previous studies and the percentages of their scores for the exam they participated now. Also, yeah, I've calculated the average math hours of their secondary studies. And here I did a count of my errors. So I know there is one student I could not find. Now let me check this, search for error, but not in the formulas, but in the values. And here I have the error. So, okay, student 3000 was not there, but here you see there is no coding of 3000. Let me try to find it. No coding of 3000. So yeah, I have here a problem with one student. So that's it for the explanation of the XLOOKUP function.